Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Are you holding on to something because you believe it will get better, or are you afraid to let go? In this episode, we're diving into the fine line between patient and settling for less than you deserve. It's time to explore how to honor your worth, recognize when it's time to walk away, and make choices that feel aligned with the life you truly want. If you've ever questioned whether you're staying for the right reasons, this episode is for you. Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Today's conversation is one I know so many of us have wrestled with at some point, whether it's in a relationship, a job, a friendship, or even within ourselves. We've all been in that gray area. And I know it's been a lot for people to understand, to know exactly what it is to be in this gray area. A lot of times, this gray area, you're wondering, am I holding on because I believe in this or because I'm afraid to let go? So, welcome back, guys, to the Beyond You podcast. I'm your host, Samantha, and I know we're diving deep into what can be really heavy for a lot of us, understanding the difference between being patient and settling. And I want you to really think about that place where you're sitting with someone, maybe it's a relationship, a situation, a job, and you keep telling yourself, good things take time, but there's this nagging feeling in your spirit that maybe just maybe you're actually settling. Yeah, we're going to talk about that because here's what nobody really tells you. Sometimes the most patient thing you can do is walk away. And sometimes what we call patience is really just fear, just up and ready to go. So let's talk about what we often mistake for patience because this is the patience trap that we tend to fall in constantly when it comes to just being in this gray area. Okay. So hoping someone will change without evidence. Ugh, how many times do we do this where we will go based on the potential of what someone possibly could do rather than seeing them for they actually are? And I want you to pay attention unto what they are showing you. That's all that we can do and pay attention to in this space. Because accepting less than you deserve because relationships take work, I used to do the same thing as well, right? Where I was so focused on the struggle love, right? That we a lot of us seen growing up, and we were so worried about what the main thing that people were saying is relationships take work. But when we talk about work here, I want you to know work is like when either you want to do laundry first, other person's doing laundry, you're deciding who wants to do laundry. It's not this kind of intense feeling, or if there's a disagreement, you're just kind of seeing on what works for both of you, but it's not this strenuous talking about each other, talking about each other in a negative way. That's not what we're doing here. That's not the work that we're talking about. It's just trying to see exactly how two different lives are kind of coming together and how to make that work is what they're talking about. So a lot of times we mistake this patience because we end up staying in situations that drain your peace because nothing's perfect. And how many times we tell each other this excuse, right? That nothing's perfect, you got to take time, which is true. I get that not being perfect, but you also have to have that line for yourself. You have to have a limit when it comes to certain things, especially it's different when someone that has a changed behavior in something, when someone's just saying nothing's perfect or I'm not perfect, but no behavior is even trying to attempt to change here. And lastly, make excuses for behavior that doesn't align with what you need. And this happens quite a bit because we are constantly trying to make excuses for poor people, and this is why, or we have a lot of stories for them as well, right? Well, they had a horrible childhood. This is why it's not working out for them. Or we have excuses on why that something's not working when really understand that someone can have the worst possible childhood ever, but they also have the same resources. Okay. The same resources, whether it's therapy, whether it's book, whether it's journaling, whether it's talking to a trusted friend, whether it's trying to find a mentor or talking to to somebody that they trust about the situation, they're choosing not to. Understand that this is a choice and it's not a choice that you have to be able to fix. I don't want you to be in relationships where you have to coach people into doing things. So, and I have experienced this. I remember being in a situation where I kept telling myself I was being patient, trying to be understanding. But what I was really doing, I was afraid of what change would mean, afraid of starting over, afraid of admitting that what I had accepted wasn't what I actually wanted. And that can be a big fear that we often tend to avoid. And so here are the signs that you are settling, because I want you to know here's what settling really looks like. I need you to check, as we do in each episode, like I need you to do an energy check. Okay. You feel drained more than energized. So just pay attention in how you feel in the relationship. Peace feels like something you had to fight for, and I think we tend to go by just what it was in the beginning versus what it is now. And that keeps us kind of held in this situation where we keep feeling like we have to fight, 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 because at one point it was so peaceful. So we focus so much in the beginning that we're forgetting that, okay, what this person is showing me now is not the same that was in the beginning. You're constantly getting to know someone, allowing yourself to do so. So next is you're constantly justifying the situation to yourself. And we tend to do this and not realize like those situations. And I remember being in this past relationship, the situations where we're worried about telling our friends because our friends would judge us. Those are the things that you have to constantly pay attention to. You're justifying a situation based on, oh, well, like I talked about before, oh, because he's been through this, or oh, because he had a rough day. This is why we're doing things, and it's not okay. Just because somebody is angry or just had someone a bad day doesn't give them the right to take it out on you. And we have to remember those things that does not give them that right. And a lot of times your gut is trying to tell you something, but you keep silencing it. And I don't understand why we tend to do this, feeling like we have to silence ourselves in these spaces. And so next is the future view, right? Sometimes you're settling. The future view tends to be one that we tend to do a lot, especially just as women, and some men do this too. And, just depending which relationship you're in and when you find yourself doing this. So in a future view, you can't imagine a situation getting better without major changes. Right. And so really seeing on how if it's something that needs a major change, and sometimes when I hear situations, whether it's in my in this on a podcast in my sessions, I'm seeing there's people who want these like these major personality changes from somebody. And it's like, oh, okay, that's who they are. That's not something that you just can jump one day and change. Right. And I think we have to pay attention to what that looks like. And then also, we have you're waiting for someone else to transform. Transforming is hard enough as it is. You're waiting for the person to transform. We cannot go by potential. You have to go by who the person is as of today. Also, your dreams keep getting smaller to fit the situation. And I was hearing this in another episode that I was hearing about, and it was mentioning on how when this woman was in a relationship and how she was so worried that she might take up too much space more, that she might do better than her husband was doing, or I think her boyfriend was doing. And she was so worried that, if she was too big, that'll be, a lot of times we get this as women, it might be too much. And we're so worried about what someone else thinks versus really allowing ourselves to be big, take up space. And in this situation, her boyfriend was supportive on it, but there's some people who are not, that as soon as you get bigger, you're worried about leaving them behind. So you make yourself small and your dreams smaller. I don't want you doing that. That's not what life is about. I want you to dream big and I want you to go after what you want. And there's also people who are also doing their own thing that are not worried about what you're trying to do or different things. You're going to be supported right along by your side. And also, you're building a life around hoping things will be different. You cannot do this. That's again trying to transform someone. You cannot just hope someone is different. And I like to call that in my past sessions, I would call this the people tend to do this hope strategy, right? So the hope strategy is just, okay, you just hope that one magical day that this person will be different. It does not work that way. Understand when a change does not happen from the person, it has a limited time. You will not have that change that you're talking about. You just have to go by what the person's showing you. And you can know when a person wants to change because they'll do it on their own merit, not from you coaching them and what they're supposed to do, but because of what that's just who they are. Someone who's ambitious and wants to do these things to better themselves, not because you're telling them to. So, lastly, the things I find in people that I've in my sessions and different ways is that the things they're settling for is also the truth, understanding the truth signs. Okay, with this section, you avoid talking about certain aspects of your situation. If you find yourself doing this, you could be just kind of settling. You won't even allow yourself to even touch the subject that's been bothering or the subject's been kind of hanging over. Sometimes people just do the silent treatment, and that's not going to work here. You have to have this conversation. Next, you find yourself envying others' boundaries or standards. And understand that you are allowed to say what's okay for you, what's not okay for you in any situation. But if you find yourself envying someone that others' boundaries or standards on things, it's because part of you wants to be able to do that and feel like you can't, which is not okay, right? Like if you I understand that boundaries is the most loving thing you can do. I talk about it in most of my episodes when we talk about boundaries. It's letting the person know for us to be able to be in a relationship and to feel at peace. This is what I need. Like you want to be in spaces where that is promoted and that is told that this is good for you to be able to have these boundaries and standards for yourself and it's respected. Also, deep down, you know you deserve more, but you're afraid to claim it. Like, and I want you to be able to listen to your gut. There's part of you that's like, that's so worried about the unknown that you're just going with, the saying, you're going with the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. And understand that unknown doesn't have to be this big, scary thing that we all like to put it as. Unknown could also be this blank canvas that you get to create and put exactly what you want in it, and you get to be out of your dreams and good kind of intentional relationships that you want that all can go in this unknown space. It doesn't have to be this big scary thing that we make it out to be. And so no, just really I want to just if any of these resonate with you, let me know in the comment section because I want to be able to hear exactly how any of these resonate with you. Next, you keep lowering your expectations to avoid disappointment. I find this tends to happen when we start giving up on what we think we deserve. We just keep lowering the expectations when it comes to somebody, right? So, for example, if someone's like, well, okay, I won't be upset with you about this, but then you say something and they end up getting upset again, and you just start to lower your expectations, they won't get mad and you just start to make it seem like your norm. I mean, I know in my just past relationship before that I know for me it was big to not settle because I didn't want to make someone else's behavior what moved me. I don't want to make someone else's behavior my norm. I know that when you keep dealing with someone who's not honoring your boundaries or the way they get upset and you keep just tolerating it, it's going to start becoming your norm where you're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, we got upset, but it wasn't as bad as last time. You're just going to become normal to you, someone getting, mad at you a certain way. And that's not okay. I don't want, how someone treats you to be your normal. And so it's really understanding that questioning whether you're being patient or settling, know this. You're not alone, and it's okay to feel torn. And I want us to be able to break this down together. And so I want you to get honest about what's holding you back and figure out how to choose what's best for you without the guilt or fear. So, first, we're going to define the difference between patience and settling. Understand that Patience is rooted in hope and faith that something is actively improving or aligning with your values. It's when you see growth, effort, or potential that feels authentic. And I want you to really hear me when I say that it's when you see growth, effort, or potential that feels authentic. So you know that the person's actively making choices to do something better, right? Whether it's both going to therapy, whether it's going to spaces where you are just having conversations, you're making an active effort to whether plan date nights if that's the issue, like you're making sure that it's like little steps of moving forward versus settling on the other hand, it feels stagnant. It's when you're staying out of fear, obligation, or the belief that you can't have better. So settling often comes with excuses, right? So you might say things like, maybe this is just as good as it gets, or at least I have something. And a good way to check in with yourself is to ask, does this align with what I truly need and deserve? Or am I staying because it feels safer than the unknown? And if you have time just to be able to write what that is for you and what that question is for you, because I know that can be really tough to be able to just to take in. And if you need to pause this, feel free to just kind of write out that answer that comes up for you and just kind of say the answer out loud for yourself. Because it's not about blaming yourself or anyone else. It's about recognizing when something isn't serving you and being honest with yourself about what you do deserve. So when patience is actually worth it is going to be one of the biggest things. Now, patience isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's necessary, especially when there's clear growth, effort, or alignment. So, and here's how you know, just a little more detail how you know that patience is worth it. You see consistent actions, not just words that show progress. The situation aligns with your values, even if it's not perfect yet. You feel respected, heard, and valued, even when challenges arise. And there's a mutual effort being made to move things forward. Patience is about nurturing something that has the potential to grow, not holding on to something that's already run its course. So the big question is how to decide whether to let it go. Now, this is the hard part for a lot of us and for anybody really, but it's also where your power lies, because here are a few steps to help you decide. First, what I want you to do is I want you to get real clear on your values. So ask yourself, what do I need to feel fulfilled, respected, and at peace? And I want you to write it down. Should have give you a warning to get your pen and notebook paper to kind of write this down and just kind of be able to think this within your head as well. Because I want to give you always in every episode, give you practical tips to how to get through whatever situation we're talking about. So for step one, I want you to get clear on your values. So what do you need to kind of fulfill, respected, and at peace? Okay. Next is reflect on patterns. Are you seeing growth or are you stuck in a cycle that never seems to change? I want you to write that answer down for yourself. Number three, I want you to imagine your life without it. Does the thought of letting go feel like freedom or does it feel like loss because you truly believe in the potential? Yeah, that could be a tough answer, right? That could be tough to kind of really write that answers down. But I just want you to see what's here, right? Without any judgment, just seeing what's here as you write these down or kind of think these within your head. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to talk to your inner voice. Deep down, you already know the answer. Sometimes you just need to quiet the fear long enough to hear it. And remember, letting go doesn't mean failure. It means you're making space for something better, something aligned with the life you want, right? So let's talk about what happens in those first few weeks after you choose yourself, because this is where a lot of us get tripped up in that space between letting go and feeling solid in our decision. So don't know that you will have moments when you question yourself. Moments when the familiar discomfort of settling starts to feel more comfortable than the unfamiliar. And that can be tough, right? This unfamiliar territory of choosing yourself. But no, this is normal. This is part of the process. And so I just want to give you tidbit on what you might experience so you don't feel just alone in it, right? And so First, you will have waves of doubt about your decision. You also will have people questioning your choice. I know I have in certain breakups, people questioning my choice. The urge to go back to what's familiar. These are all normal aspects. And also moments of loneliness or uncertainty. In any transition, there's going to be a moment of just that loneliness feeling. You don't know what's happening next. I need you to be able to trust the unknown. I know that can be hard to hear, but also trusting that each time there's been an unknown space, that you have got through it and you will get through this as well. But also knowing, but I want you to just also know that here's what also happens. Here's what else happens, okay? You start feeling lighter, your energy starts to return, peace becomes your normal, and you recognize yourself again. And if you have trouble recognizing yourself, please feel free to tap into episode 2, because that episode we really tapped into rediscovering yourself and start the challenges and everything. And I think you would love that episode. I think it really resonates with if you have trouble with recognizing yourself again. So also know there is things like the Worth Toolkit to kind of get you on your way with things. So let me give you some practical tools for those moments when doubt creeps in, right? Giving you all the tips, all the goodies here for you to be able to take with you. Know that you have the peace check. When you're questioning your decision, notice how your body feels now versus then. Remember the signs that led you here. Focus on the peace you gained. And I want you to trust your inner knowing, like trust that gut feeling for yourself, because that is what's going to help kind of stay grounded and just connecting with yourself. Also, I want you to have a worth reminder. So if you need to keep replaying this episode over here in this section, I want you to keep these truths close to you. Feel free to write this down. You don't need to earn peace. Settling costs more than starting over. Understand your standards aren't too high. Also know you deserve what you desire. And I want you to be able to protect your progress. Okay? So protect your progress by surrounding yourself with growth-minded people, creating new patterns that serve you. I want you to celebrate your small wins because all those wins matter, whether that's the fact that you got up today and you didn't call them in the morning. Like all those little things matter. And I also want you to honor your boundaries. So know that this is you choosing yourself through all this. That's a daily decision. And having support makes all the difference. Okay. So I want you to continue to just challenge yourself. So the Beyond You challenge this week, notice where you might be settling. And I want you to check what's patience and what's fear. And then listen to your inner knowing as you say this. And just whether write it down or just resonate with it and just make peace just what's here, what's coming up for you. And I want you to take one small step towards your truth. Remember, there's a difference between waiting for someone worth having and accepting something worth leaving. Your peace is not negotiable. Your worth is not up for debate. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. Until then, keep choosing yourself, keep honoring your worth. Remember, you're not just letting go of what doesn't serve you, you're going beyond you. So, if you're ready for just uncheckable worth, know that we have a community here. Please share with someone who needs this, like, follow, because I want you to be able to hear every episode that we give out every week. And I want to be able to take some affirmations to take with you. Okay. I am worthy of relationships and situations that align with my values. Letting go creates space for what I truly deserve. I trust myself to make decisions that honor my peace and joy. And I don't have to settle. I'm allowed to want more. I'm so excited for what's all in store for you. Until next time, take care of yourself.